Thank you, Professor Satish Kumar, and allow me to thank the DG IDSA for inviting me to this 6th South Asian Conference. It is indeed a great pleasure for being able to share the dais with so many eminent speakers from our region, and it's particularly a great joy for me for being able to associate with so many distinguished participants from our region. Today, I thought I will just directly touch on the transition from monarchy to democracy, with the idea to outline when and how. To get to this, I will only touch on the important features that has facilitated to speed up the transition from monarchy to democracy in Bhutan. Today, in our SAARC region, and in this regard, I entirely agree with the opening comments that Professor Satish Kumar has given, that in South Asia, we have so much of commonality of history and shared culture. And besides, there is much shared value and desire also amongst the people for democracy and democratic process. There exists multi-party democracy and general election held in all the SAARC countries in varying colors and perhaps degrees of vigor. Bhutan may be the youngest democracy of our time, as it became democratic constitutional monarchy only in 2008. The next general election in Bhutan is due in 2013, when the people once again would exercise their franchise and determine who should govern them. It is already beginning to dawn on the people of Bhutan that democracy requires time and patience. Indeed, with 4,000 years of heritage, experience in federalism and feudalism, agrarian economy, spiritual theocratic forms of governance, and 100 years of monarchy, it has not been easy to nurture democracy and democratic practices. Yet, Bhutan has succeeded. It started with the establishment of the first National Assembly by the third King of Bhutan, His Majesty Jigme Dorji Wangchuk, including that he has set up a royal advisory councillors elected by the National Assembly as far back as 1953. People may ask, then why Bhutan has not pursued this vigorously? Perhaps I feel that people in Bhutan also perhaps heard the saying, the one wise man from South Asia has said, democracy without education is hypocrisy without limitation. Perhaps we wanted to give ourselves some more time to educate our people. So we had to wait till the fourth king came into power in 1974. And as you know, some of you may know that he said that to a journalist at that time when he came to the throne, ascended the throne. He said, gross national happiness is more important than gross national product. Since then, GNH, or gross national happiness, was declared in 1975 as the guiding principle for socio-economic development of Bhutan. This came after having looked around many development models being practiced in our neighborhood and beyond, and having pondered the meaning and purpose of development. Bhutan, on its part, chose not to be confused by the conventional development practices. The gross national happiness concept guided Bhutan's development process now over 4 decades, and all our development efforts have led to strengthening the 4 pillars of the gross national happiness. The economy has steadily moved on the path of sustainable development and balanced growth. Today, our environment is healthy and resilient with over 72% forest coverage, and 51% of this declared protected national parks. The Constitution requires Bhutan to maintain 60% green coverage at all times. Mahayana Buddhist cultural heritage and tradition with strong value system continue to guide our thinking and everyday life. Our commitment to good governance, one of the 4 pillars of the GNH, has given the people a democracy today that has truly empowered the people. Transformation took place over some 34 years, spanning the entire reign of the 4th king. During these 34 years, step-by-step legal instruments, institutional arrangements, and administrative systems were methodically and meticulously put in place to support the process of democratization. It culminated in the parliamentary election of 2008, and the Constitution declared Bhutan democratic constitutional monarchy. Bhutan became parliamentary democracy in a unique way. The Constitution now vested all legislative powers in the parliament, which is composed of the Druk Gyalpo, the king, the National Council, and the National Assembly. It did not happen suddenly or impulsively, nor through any uprising. So, democracy in Bhutan defies all conventional notions of preconditions and outcome of democracy. His Majesty, the 4th king, once said, and I wish to share this with you, and I quote, "Bhutan is too small and too vulnerable to be left in the hands of one person who is chosen by birth, not by merit. The destiny of the country must be left in the hands of the Bhutanese people," unquote. Ironically, it was in 1975 that a royal decree dislodged all the sawmills out of the forest at a time when people were feverishly harvesting blue pine and exporting to the neighboring states in India. The affected people did show their concern and against the royal decree. Thereafter, many national parks were established quickly. Now, people of Bhutan are looking back at the royal decree and with much satisfaction and joy including those who practiced blue pine capitalism, as they see more greenery and healthy environment around. Now the government has also declared Bhutan a carbon neutral country. As if to give a trial run, in 1998, the cabinet was dissolved and a new set of Council of Ministers was formed. The National Assembly elected the Council of Ministers from amongst the candidates nominated by His Majesty the King, with a yearly rotating chairman and fully empowered with executive powers from the throne to the Council of Ministers. It would be less than candid indeed if I claim that the democratization process progressed without any problems. The people-centric programs could have been more result-oriented and realized at a faster pace, but the impediments that confronted the government in late 80s, the southern Bhutan problem, and the Ulfa border incursions into our territory in the 90s. It seems for every good thing there comes a bad omen. Fortunately, the problems caused by the migrant workers in the south began to subside, and the Ulfa border and KLO militants were flushed out of the country in December 2003. Bhutan, once again, with the new year of 2004, began to see peace and stability. In 2001, even in the face of security threats, a 39-member committee headed by the Chief Justice was established to draft the Constitution. The draft Constitution was ready and unveiled in March 2005. His Majesty and then the Crown Prince, now the fifth king, launched consultation on the draft constitution with the people of 20 districts, explaining the content, article by article, and significance of the draft constitution. In April 2007, a countrywide mock election was launched to make the people familiar with the election procedures and the electronic voting machines received from India. The electronic machines have been most helpful in accelerating the voting process and being able to announce the results on the same day. The mock election exercise has been a good precursor to the general election. This being the first major parliamentary election of its kind in the history of Bhutan, many observers from the SAARC member countries and the European Commission, including many foreign media, descended in Thimphu. Prior to the election, there were a lot of speculations, enough to make the people feel nervous. Looking around and beyond South Asia, and Bhutan being a small country with a small population, people surmised there could be serious struggle between people's power and money power. The speculators thought money power probably would win, as experienced in some of the countries. Fortunately, the people's power trumped over the money power in the case of Bhutan. Thanks to the integrity displayed by the parliamentary candidates, and more importantly probably, the attentive presence demonstrated by the Anti-Corruption Commission and the strict regulations enforced by the Election Commission. The media also rose to the occasion and registered their presence with reports from every constituency and voting station. This first experience of parliamentary election has been a resounding success, and the people in general went through this process with mixed feeling. It was reported by the Election Commission that over 80% came out to exercise their franchise. Some senior citizens, men and women of 80 years old, walked days to voting stations to cast their vote. Such enthusiasm indeed augured well for the process of democracy in Bhutan. Finally, how have we transitioned so peacefully and successfully from 100 years of monarchy to democracy? I attribute this success story to 4 important factors. A, gross national happiness as the guiding philosophy for the 5-year development programs for empowering the people. B, the policy of decentralization and people's participation. C, timely establishment of the 5 important institutions. These are now constitutional bodies for better check and balance. The constitutional bodies are the Anti-Corruption Commission, the Election Commission, the Judiciary, the Royal Audit Authority, and the Royal Civil Service Commission. And the 4th, the D, the encouragement of free media, both print and electronic, which played a significant role and continue to attract attention. Prospects now. At the end, the prospects for the future of democracy in Bhutan. The people have much faith and confidence in the future growth of democratic process, as there is strong political commitment. The commitment from the throne is also unwavering and constant. His Majesty, the 5th King, at the inaugural session of the first parliamentary session, he has said, and I would like to share this quotation with you in conclusion, and I quote, "The highest achievement of 100 years of monarchy has been the constant nurturing of democracy. This has culminated today with the first sitting of Parliament and the start of democracy, whereby my father, the 4th Duke Gyalpo, and I hereby return to our people the powers that had been vested in our kings by our forefathers 100 years ago. We do so with absolute faith and confidence, offer our complete support and our prayers for the success of democracy," unquote. We hope that this kind of stability and the prospect ahead of us will also accelerate the pace of development and growth, not only in Bhutan, but also in the SAARC region and South Asia, so that there could be greater regional, gross regional happiness. Thank you, Professor Sharma.